Thank you for joining us for Swivl's Adaptability Initiative webinar series. I'm Gerard Dawson, product manager at Swivl. The topic today and for this series is, of course, artificial intelligence, AI. And if there's one thing we can all agree, it's that AI is moving fast. When things change this fast, we all need to adapt. We need to explore new ideas. We need to build new skills, and we need to be open to using that information to change course and adjust. And at Swivl, that's really what we're here to help you do. Of course, we're helping you adapt through this series as we explore many approaches, ideas, and tools related to how AI is helping to shape the future of education. And we're also helping you adapt through our own tools like Reflectivity, which we'll talk a bit more about later. But for now, I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker, Dr. Samantha Fecich. Dr. Samantha Fecich is an educator, author, and edtech enthusiast committed to revolutionizing education through technology integration. Dr. Fecich is well known for assisting teachers in integrating technology into their classrooms. She has authored numerous books, facilitated workshops, and presented at conferences, all to help educators leverage technology's potential to improve learning outcomes. Dr. Fecich, thanks for joining us. You're up.
All right. Hey, Swivl team. Thank you so much for hosting this amazing series, and thank you for having me on. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And how we're going to work today is we are going to be looking through some AI tools, first from the lens of the teacher perspective. And then I'm also going to share some examples of how I use AI with my future teachers. So let me go ahead. I'll start the Canva presentation, and then we'll go into a little bit of demo mode. So if I can just get a thumbs up, Gerard, or can Cynthia, that we can see everything okay and we're rocking and rolling.
Yes, yep. We're all good.
Fabulous. Awesome sauce. All right, let's roll. All right, so today we're talking about AI in education and a little bit about me. I'm an associate professor of education at a small liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. I'm also the author of EduMagic and an author of a few other books for new and future teachers. What I get to do each day is work with future educators in areas related to educational technology and special education. I also get to oversee a few of our student teachers as well. So it's fantastic to see them grow from their first year, when I usually have them at 8 a.m. Monday morning, all the way through their senior year and their student teaching. And just for fun, I have a podcast for new educators called EduMagic, and you can find more about me and about my work over on sfecich.com. But today we're jumping into AI, and this little image here, this little pup, was created with an AI image generator using Bing's AI image generator. So I'm excited to share a little bit about that today. So today we're going to be talking about some AI tools to help with curriculum, assessment, feedback. We're going to talk about some ethical considerations when it comes to using different AI tools. We're going to get a lot of different tools in this session, but we're going to kind of encouch them in that Danielson framework for teaching, or Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching. That's something that we use here at Pennsylvania to evaluate our educators. And we also use it as a way to evaluate our student teachers. So when we're looking at these different edtech tools and AI tools, that's how we'll frame today's learning in those 4 domains: planning and prep, class learning environments, instruction, and principal teaching. And we'll talk about how these different features of the AI tools fit into those 4 big domains. So we're going to talk about what is it. We're going to do a very quick overview of what AI is. I'm sure you guys know a lot about it. Benefits, considerations, things to think about before we start checking all these bright and shiny tools. We got to make sure that we're doing it ethically and purposefully. And then we'll look at some AI tools and how they work within the framework. So we know that AI is not going anywhere. If you've noted, if you've watched the news or anything recently, just yesterday, Gemini came out, a new AI product tied into Bard. Also, a few weeks ago, the CEO of OpenAI was fired and then rehired within 24 or 36 hours. So there's always something with AI going on, whether it's a new tool, a new product, a new way to use it, or something going on within the AI world. So we know it's not going anywhere, but let's teach with it. And I like to think about this as, we've had this conversation before in education, right? When we've had calculators come on the scene and Wikipedia or the internet. I'm sure maybe you remember Ask Jeeves. I know I remember that. But thinking about how we're using these as tools to support our learners and to help us as teachers, not to replace us, but to help support us. That's kind of the framework that I'm going through with my AI journey. And sometimes when we're using the AI, and I just did this with my future teachers this morning, sometimes it's a little creepy and a little freaky what it can do. It's like, whoa, did you see? That's amazing. Or I'm a little uncomfortable with this. Well, let's talk about that. So it's okay to have those feelings of, I'm excited, let's jump in. That's how I feel most of the time. But sometimes I'm like, whoa, that is so cool that it can do that, but I'm a little worried about it. So it's okay to have those feelings and everything in between, but we need to know how we can teach with it, because really it's not going anywhere. If you've noticed a lot of AI popping up, maybe in some of your favorite edtech tools. I know for me, I was working with FigJam. FigJam has some AI implemented within it. Quizzes has some AI implemented within it. So it's being added as features to support our work as teachers and to support our students' learning. So really quick definition of AI, it's AI pulls tons and millions of data sets, and it combines all those data sets and looks for information that is commonly put together in those data sets to provide you with a response to the prompt that you have. And what it does, it looks at it's machine learning to do tasks that we thought only humans can do. However, AI cannot think critically yet. It cannot think creatively yet. We have to provide it with those prompts and with that information. So that's why it's so important to have humans or teachers in the loop when creating content for our students using AI. And in the Office of EdTech report that came out last March, almost a year ago, that's one of their features in the report is humans have to be in the loop when it comes to using AI. And that's absolutely something we need to think about when we're using these tools. We know that AI has a very rich history. It's just something that didn't come out with ChatGPT last year. It actually was started back in the 50s, but we need to be able to use it as a tool to support ourselves and our students. And that's what we're gonna look at it through that lens today. There's so many benefits of using AI in the classroom, talking about benefits and then some considerations. So we know that it can be used to help support our learners for differentiation. We're going to talk about one tool in particular that differentiates for text, the text leveler, and there's differentiation for questions. It can also provide personalized learning. So one of my students was working through an AP Chem course, and the AI was scaffolding their learning through different parts of balancing an equation, which was really neat. It can save time with administrative tasks. And I just used this probably about 20 minutes ago. I was using one of the options within one of the tools called Magic School, which is called email responder. I had an email and it said, all right, how do you want to respond to the email? I typed in what I wanted to say. It wasn't very professional and there were spelling errors. And then it came back with a nice professional response, maybe some words that I wouldn't necessarily use, like best regards and kindly. I don't use those words. So I rewrote it, but I like the way it phrased one part of the email, like, oh, they explained that really well. I'm going to use that, but add my own sprinkles to it. Assessment, it can help with multiple choice, creating a worksheet, creating assessment questions from a YouTube video. Feedback, I am really good at having like the same comment, but then personalizing it for each student. So for example, I have my students doing social media posts as one of their assignments, and I'll put, nice job on your social media post. I really liked, and then I'll fill in the blank with some cool posts that they did that week. Well, that gets really boring and repetitive. So I'll go into ChatGPT or Bard, like, give me 5 other ways to say, I liked your social media post this week. And it'll give me 5 other options. And maybe I will pick 1 or 2 and combine a few or have it rewrite or something like that. But it kind of gets me out of my own head a little bit when it comes to feedback, but I'm still providing those personalized pieces to my students. And then again, it's fantastic for content and material creation, but we need to be aware because AI does have biases built in. Sometimes it will lie and make up information. For example, I was telling my students, if you have it write a paper for you, sometimes AI will come up with its own citations that don't exist or journal articles that were never written. So it's important to vet your content, be a critical consumer of the information it's putting out, just like we would if we're using tools like Pinterest or Teachers Pay Teachers to pull resources for our students. We're going to want to vet that content before we just give it out to our students. We want to make sure that it's accurate, that it's true, that it's quality content that we're providing. And we might not use all of it, but we need to make sure that we're really digging through that content. Sometimes the AI will hallucinate and give you content that has nothing to do with your prompt. But going back to the prompts, we got to make sure that what we're putting in is good stuff, or else we're not going to get such great output when we ask for our response. So being mindful of your prompting, giving as much context as possible. So for example, instead of writing something like write a third grade lesson plan on the water cycle, have it say, you can put in a prompt like, I am a teacher in a rural school district in Pennsylvania. We are covering the water cycle, and then insert the specific standard there. I would like an engaging hands-on lesson to put a 45-minute block for my third graders to explore the water cycle, focusing on the parts of the water cycle. And I would like to assess them on a diagram of the water cycle parts. And then so that's a much more robust prompt, and I'm going to get better information that I can pick and choose for me to use. So I want to make sure that I'm being mindful of my prompting, knowing that AI does not know your students, but you do. So AI will not replace educators. Instead, use it as a prompt and a support. And we need to be aware of our data and privacy. So a lot of the tools have certain age restrictions for students to use them. And I work with adult learners, so I asked if you are comfortable to sign up. You are more than welcome. You do not have to sign up. I'll demo it here for you. So being aware of data and privacy, reading those security disclaimers on the sites and things like that, making sure you know what you're getting into before you just jump in and start prompting all the AIs. All right, so let's rock and roll, and we're going to talk about the AI tools as they relate to the 4 Danielson domains. And if you don't already, Danielson updated her domains in 2022, so they might look a little bit different. But we have our planning and prep, learning environments, learning experiences, and principled teaching. So this is where I'm going to jump into one of the tools. Go ahead. Okay, great. All right. Just making sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. The one that we're gonna start off with is School AI, and I'll drop it here in our Zoom chat. Oh, gotta find it. There it is. I'll post that to everyone. You don't have to sign up for an account. I'll demo it for you here, and you can see what you like. All right. So School AI. This one I just found out about last week. So I wanted to show you all. Everything on here is developed by AI. So 2 parts of School AI that I want to demo. The first one is Spaces. This one offers AI prompting and scaffolding. So this I see really powerful for personalized learning, for differentiated instruction, for enrichment activities. And here we can go, I'm going to click on history, and you can have a conversation with a historical figure. My students and I discussed, why is Charlie Chaplin listed? I said, I don't know. We'll have a conversation with him, see what he has to say. And then they thought it was really funny because he's in silent movies. So like, yeah, that was pretty good. So we go ahead, we have conversation. Who did I have a conversation with the other day? I think it was Amelia Earhart. And what's interesting about these, it's not just like, I flew, yeah, so here she'll give us some information, but look, it shares what challenges do you think I might have faced during that flight. So it's not just information giving, it's conversational. How about challenges related to grit and determination? You'll have to excuse me, I'm not very good at typing live. Yes. And then she goes and she responds, have you ever had to persevere through a difficult situation? How did you handle it? So now we're getting this little bit of SEL. Now I will say, if you click on speak, it does sound a little robotic, and then I can give feedback on the information. So I can have conversations here. I'm going to go back one step. So that's just one part with the historical figures. I can also go into different subjects. And this is where one of my students, I forget where he was, he might have been in the Chem one. And he was playing around with this to help with balancing equations. Here's a study session. Choose one of the following. Well, let's see. Learn test taking strategies. What would you like to focus on first? Because when I started asking my students, like, how do you use ChatGPT? And like, oh, create a study guide or give me questions. I'm like, well, this could really be helpful as well if you're thinking about using some of these tools. So I need help balancing equations. Let's see if I typed that in correctly. Oh, I did. Let's see what it comes back with. So here's my step-by-step guide. One of the things that it had prompted him with is, what's our first step? Where do we get started? So not just giving him the answer, but helping him through it and finding an answer. That was really unique to School AI. So School AI has spaces and it also has tools. Now there are other tools, teacher tools that we will check out today. And when we were looking at, let me find the lesson plan. There it is. When we were looking at the lesson plan, this is how I used it with my future teachers. I pulled up this exact example. I put in, give me a water cycle, 3rd grade, focus on the process of the water cycle. And we looked at it through a critical lens. I said, guys, this is a great starting point. This is not your starting and ending point. Let's look through these objectives. Are these complete objectives? Are they measuring? How are you measuring these objectives? How can we add to it? So yeah, we can take a few of these and I think we can work with these, just a few of them, like the identifying different stages of the water cycle. Given a matching worksheet with the vocabulary word and the definition, students will be able to match with 80% accuracy the 4 different parts of the water cycle. Okay, so that's how I added more to that one objective. We also looked at the introduction, the guided practice, the independent practice, the introduction, asking questions. Come on, we can do better than that for a water cycle lesson. Like let's try to think creatively. Let's think outside the bun, so to speak, that old Taco Bell commercial, and think about how we can introduce the water cycle in a fun way that's engaging for our students. And it's just giving us like using a diagram on a chart paper. Okay, well, maybe we can change that to creating something within Canva, or maybe create an infographic that has the water cycle. So looking through it with a critical eye. And I said, we're not copying and pasting and saying, look, I made this awesome lesson plan, because really it's not that awesome, but it's a good starting point. I can get some ideas, I can brainstorm here. We also talked about, in one of the examples that it provided us, were adaptations. And one of the adaptations was pairing a low-level student with a high-level student. Well, best practice shows that that's not a great best practice. If we're going to be doing some pairing, maybe a lower-level student and a middle and a high. So we want to make sure that we're looking for best practices in our planning and design, just like we would any other tool. So School AI has lots of options here. I had students working with the worksheet. They thought that was pretty cool. And the class newsletter, that was a really neat one, because it had like different ideas for content that you can put into a class newsletter. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So you're not just staring at a blank cursor, right? What am I going to put in here? All right, so that's School AI. And again, one more time, right? So let me scoot my zoom down. There we go. The next one I want to demo for you is Magic School. And Magic School has magic tools. And I'll put this in our chat as well. Just give me a second to do so. I'll come back to that question. Oh, it looks like Gerard answered it. Thank you. Okay, good. I put Magic School in there. All right. And with this one, what I like about it, I'm logged in. If you're just in Magic School without being logged in, there's a spot that says resources, and then you drop down and there's a spot that says tools. And that's how you can get to something that looks like this, where it'll have, I think it's over 60 tools. And I feel like every week they're coming out with new things and stuff with Magic School. What I like about this is I'm logged in here and I can see like different types of planning materials. I like that it has science lab, group work, lesson plan generator, content rubric, choice board based on UDL, math spiraling review, YouTube video summarizer. I used this with my students earlier, and I pulled in the Rita Pearson my Rita Pearson video, Every Child Needs a Champion. And what was really fun, let's see if it'll pull it up here, was I logged in here whenever I did it? That's the question. It looks like I wasn't, but I was in the gift generator, which you saw. So it'll pull in a summary, and then I can use that to create content in other tools for questions. So this is, I mean, it's really unique what it has. I like the communication in the community, especially when it comes to observations. And there's an email generator here that's under communication, email family, email responder, a thank you note, professional email, letter of recommendation. Now, I'm not going to use all of these as is. I'm definitely going to be adding in my own text. What I like is the text rewriter, so you can make sure you have clear instructions, because how many times have you said something, oh, that's perfectly clear. It's like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't as clear as I thought it would be. So having a text rewriter is really unique. Student support. Now, I did tell my students, if you're going to be using some of these tools for IEP or behavior plan, do not put the student identifiable information in there, be generic. These are good for exploratory, not for the, well, AI said I should do this intervention. We, again, want to make sure they're doing best practices, peer-reviewed, research-based best practices. Social stories, which I think is a fantastic resource for our students. So we'll do a first grade one, getting ready for our first assembly at school, and we'll do generate. Now, this is not at a first grade reading level, which I would have liked, but I can pull this and I can use this kind of as a way to get started in thinking through constructing a social story. And then I love how it has like extra questions that I might not have thought of in my prompt. So how long does an assembly usually last? That's a great question. Maybe more like an hour, but okay, 20 to 30 minutes. What activities are usually done? And maybe think about, oh, this reminds me of another question. How loud is it in an assembly? Should I bring my headphones? How am I going to be sitting? Am I sitting on the floor? Are there chairs? Am I in an auditorium? Am I in the gym? Am I in the cafeteria? So like those are some other like, oh, these are great questions I can start thinking about and brainstorming. So here what can I expect? It might be a little noisy, so I can bring my noise canceling headphones if I need them. I can sit quietly with my class. So another neat option for Magic School within their tools feature. All right, the next one we are going to look at is DFIT. And my daughter and I, we like to go to National Geographic Kids and look at their animal pages. She is an animal lover and she's in first grade. So when we look at some of these resources, they're not at her grade level for reading, but we will go to one of her favorite ones. And with DFIT, I can differentiate that content. So I can pull in, oh, I was signed in, I promise, guys. Let me go ahead and give that another go. All right, there we go. So I can type in anything. So mitosis or the 3 branches of government, or I can pop in a video or an article. The video will give you a summary of the video if you pull in the video URL, or I can copy and paste or throw in a PDF. I'm going to adjust my grade level. The youngest it goes to is second grade. It goes all the way up to 11th grade plus. And I can also translate here. I'm going to go to an article, keep it at second grade in English, and click generate resources. And if you want to try it out, it's beta.dfit.me. And I'll go ahead and put that in our chat too. So we have it. Boom. Okay. Oh, and then that means I got rid of my other URL. So patience, please. Article. There we go. Not 5th grade, 2nd grade sounds a little bit better, and generate. And I tell my students, everybody needs think time, even AI and computers. We'll give it a little bit of think time here. And what's cool about this is, there we go, I have my reading passage. So it took the content from my National Geographic Kids. It popped it into here. I can click show my sources. And this is cool whenever if you're just putting in like that first area where it was like, ask me anything. You put 3 branches of government, and it'll show the resources that I got it from. So because I gave it a specific source, that's where it's pulling that from. Now, looking at this information, we could read this together, and she could read a few of the words, like a lot of the CVC words, and she can sound out and do some words together and blend some words together. But this would be a nice reading for the two of us. It gives me a summary. It gives me my vocab, and any of these things I can edit, copy. I can add my own vocab words. I have my multiple choice with answers because I might need those. And short answer with answers, so I can check those out, and my open-ended response. And looking at some of these questions, I might be able to use these maybe as anticipatory set or a quick review. Like I like this one. Why do you think it's important to take care of the beach and keep it clean for dolphins? That's a nice, ending question for students to think about, or maybe that opens up more of an enrichment project with my students who are really interested in that topic. So what my daughter and I use it for, and it's just the adapted reading passage, but you could use it for more in-depth things like the summary, the vocab words, things like that. I can also then translate or change the grade level here. With DFIT, now you would have to upgrade for a few of the things with a purple lightning bolt, but you can print and you can save as a PDF. They also just started a new template section, which is awesome for their graphic organizers that can be based off of the content that you provided them. So here we have printable and digital, and then if you have any favorites, you can use that. So you can export and share as needed. All right, How are we doing so far? I'm going to pause here, share any great ideas that you have in the chat, and I'm going to go back through and look to see what questions we have. Oh, good. Yes, there is a recording, and I will send all the resources. Maybe I'll make a little wakelet for us, Cynthia, with all the stuff and things. I'll throw the presentation in there. Absolutely.
Seems like the one question we had, Dr. Fecich, just points to a interesting, broader topic that's definitely relevant to your presentation. I'm curious if you have any thoughts or information, which is just about student use. If you just recommend going tool by tool or the other approach.
Right. So with the student use, so since I teach adult learners, they're of age to sign up and use some of these tools, definitely go through and look at the age that students are allowed to use the tools. For DFID, I would think of that more as a teaching tool. So you would sign up as a teacher, create the material and print it out or provide it through Google Classroom or Google Docs or whatever for the students. I think a lot of the tools like the Magic School, with all the different magic tools, those are more teacher facing tools where you can use it to help create engaging content, those lesson plans, things like that. With School AI, I'm not sure the age that they can use it. That would be something within their privacy and data that we'd have to look at. A great question. And I think it's important when we're introducing this to our students for them to not think of AI just as a shortcut to write papers, but as a tool to engage with to continue their learning. And AI is a spot to start with, not a spot to end with. So use it as a support tool. One of my colleagues on Instagram, they created a rubric for a final project. And on the rubric, they included, if you're going, you can use AI in different portions of this project, but if you're using AI solely in this project, the rubric looks very different for you than it would for someone who's using a little bit less AI. Coming up with a contract so students understand what assignments are appropriate for AI use and how they can use it, like brainstorming. Did you fact check your AI resources? If so, what tools did you use to fact check? So walking them through, here are the tools that I use for AI, use for my project using AI. Here's why I selected these tools and how I use them. Here are ways that I edited that final product that AI provided me. Because we're going to look at one in just a moment here to create a presentation. Well, we'll notice whenever we look at creating a presentation using AI, some of the information is repeated or it just doesn't flow very well. So yeah, I can use it as a starting point, as a brainstorming point, but not as an ending point. So having those conversations and being open with your students, like I'm trying this out and seeing how this goes. This is how I'm using AI to support my learning. I hope that was helpful. Kind of went off there. All right, here we go. So we have another tool. I know you guys love Canva because I love Canva. I feel like Canva is like the tool for teachers. Here we go. Canva has magic design presentations. They also have magic design for a lot of different things. But I'm going to go into a presentation. And this is in my canva.com account. It's my education account. And if you are a practicing K-12 educator, you too can have access to Canva edu for free. And it offers so many resources. So here within my Canva, I can go ahead and let's see, I can pull in different types of presentations that are already developed for me. There are also ways that you can just type in, hey, create a presentation about. So use 5 words to describe your presentation. I'll type in presentation. Whoops, I don't need presentation. Animals in the jungle. I guess I could have put jungle animals, but oh well. And here we go. We have results that have like a jungle type theme if I wanted to use that for my presentation, or safari animals. But here I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. And I'm just going to click apply all 7 pages just so we can see it. So this is what AI developed for the jungle animals prompt that I gave it. Discovering animals of the jungle. And all the text is generated by AI. Now this presentation, I don't really love it. I don't like the design. It's a little text heavy for elementary students. I'm going to want to change that up. I want to add images to it, right? So I can go ahead and I can add images. I'm going to want to, maybe this has nothing to do with my presentation, maybe take that one out. And here we have some sort of matching activity, I guess. And then here are my references. That's pretty sparse. I'm going to want to add in my own content. But here it's a starting point for some things, I would say, but not at all that ending point. So here are my apps. I can go in and do my, let's see, I'm going to have it do jungle animals and generate image, and it'll do an AI generated image for me that I can pop into my presentation. Excuse me, we'll give it some big time. And this is all within Canva. We're still thinking, I think I like this one. I can pop it in, move it around. Now, if we look closely at this image, there's something interesting going on with the giraffe's neck. It looks like part of a lion head there. So I want to be critical about the content that I'm putting out to my students. And yeah, so we have the same thing here with this giraffe with a lion head. It's interesting. But there are other AI generated image software or tools that I can use. Let's jump into one of those now. It is Bing Image Creator. And to get to this, you would go to bing.com/create. I'm already hanging out here for a little bit. And so I'm gonna, there's the puppy that I did. I think my picture of dog wearing glasses typing on a computer. And I had some misspellings in there too. I feel okay about that. Let's try animals in the jungle cartoon image. Let's just see what happens. This is my favorite part of my AI. Let's just see what's gonna pop up with. So it usually pops up with 4 options in a grid. And you can see I have some other ones here that I've developed on the right-hand side here. What I think is interesting, this one looks like little Lisa Frankish, from the 90s. I can use the images. I'm gonna wanna make sure that I put a little asterisk saying image developed by Dolly. Really I think some of these are really unique. So all the different variety of artwork that it has. A hedgehog at Christmas, because everybody needs a hedgehog at Christmas. Let's see, here's my dog wearing glasses on the computer. But this is a really unique way to get content out there. And I told my students you can create these images. Just a note, that was developed with AI, just so you don't have the same type of images everybody else is showing from those stock photos or from the copyright-free image things on your digital portfolios. So this one's really neat. Okay, the last one I want to show you for the last 5 minutes or so is developing lesson plans within Bard or ChatGPT. I just have Bard up as an example. And I wanted to show you this one because from what maybe I just noticed it, and maybe it's been around for a while and I just decided to notice it today, was down here, whenever I do my prompt within Bard, I can check my responses. Oops, I had it selected. And it'll tell me where the information was found or where it wasn't found. And I can go ahead and I can click through and I can see where it's pulling its information from. I think that's really interesting. So I see I have iSpring Solutions, Gartner, D2L, TechSmith, let's see here, Adobe. And then this one says Google search and finding irrelevant content. Consider researching this one further. I think that's really interesting. And I want to make sure that these sites are accurate and actually go to something. But here I'm going to go ahead and I think it was first grade math. Create a first grade lesson plan based on the standard for a 45-minute lesson. Hands-on. So all I did was I went to my good friend PDE SAS, is where we have all of our standards in Pennsylvania, and I pulled this one, represent solve problems involving addition and subtraction within 20. Pop that into Bard here. Here we have our objectives, our materials, our procedure. So this one gives me a little bit more content than the other one. I think it was School AI that had a little bit of a sparse lesson plan. Maybe I can pull some of these. Maybe I'll change these to my students' names. Maybe I'll create a graphic or a visual that goes with this. Maybe I can pull this prompt into an image generator and see what it'll provide me with. And this anticipatory set, we got to do better than that. We got to make these objectives a little bit, we got to clean these up a little bit, make them measurable, make them concrete. But again, starting point, but definitely not an ending point. I think that's kind of like the view that we're taking today would be using it for idea generation, brainstorming, support, helping with those administrative tasks, helping personalize learning for our students, and then making it our own because we know our students. The AI does it, but it's there to help support us, and we can engage with it as much or as little as we like. So I'm going to thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to flip down to the end of our presentation. I had a few more tools that I wanted to share with you, but I'll pop them in our presentation for sure, so you guys have access to that at a later time. Thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with me, learning a little bit about AI tools. We talked about School AI, Magic School, Diffit, Canva with some AI options with their AI presentations and their AI image generator. We also looked at Bing image generator and Bard for lesson planning. So I think like 6 different tools in 40 minutes. There's a lot to get into for all these tools. We did a little bit of a tech tasting today. Again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Swivl, for hosting this amazing series. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Fecich. I appreciate how you not only shared several cool tools like you just reviewed, but also you're getting me think broadly about how AI tools have a role in the classroom, in teaching practice, and in students' place in the classroom too, which I really appreciate, because in any discussion about education technology, it's always cool to lead to get to that transformation stage and augmentation stage of how technology is impacting educators' work. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see. We had a few great questions, which we answered a bit during the presentation. If anyone has another question for Dr. Fecich, please feel free to type it in the chat. When you're thinking about this, there's several ideas that we've learned about today, multiple tools, and kind of swirling possibilities for how you could begin to explore to help you address maybe specific challenges or opportunities that you see in your work. I'm going to give you a quick look at what it might look like to be exploring these tools and building these skills in a community of educators reflecting about this learning together, which is what we offer with Reflectivity. We call this process socializing reflection. When you're building new skills, testing out new tools, whether that's the ones that Dr. Fecich shared today or others, and then applying them to your work, sharing it with colleagues and adapting. So here's what you might see if you were in an organization that was using Reflectivity to adapt to build AI skills, or really address any other challenge that your organization or you individually may be facing. So, for example, one of the ideas that that stood out to me is AI for lesson planning, both with say Diffit and Magic School and even say Canva there. I'd be interested in how I can leverage AI tools to make lessons more differentiated, more maybe creative, have higher quality materials. But I'd like to explore that in a community of other teachers who are learning about the same skill, sharing their reflection process, and able to exchange feedback and ideas quickly, so we can all figure out together what is the best way, or what are some of the best ways to use AI for lesson planning. So this type of community learning, socializing reflection, is what happens in Reflectivity. So inspired by presentation, you can see I added here a skill which becomes a community in Reflectivity for AI for lesson planning. So once I was to join that community, I'd see something like this, where visually I'm in a community of educators who are all working on building this skill. And as my colleagues are sharing their learning process, whether they're setting goals, making plans, exploring new resources, writing reflections, even adding video about their instruction, right, as we as you probably know, Swivl for the Swivl robot, which facilitates that. All of that learning and reflection is gathered here in this skill-based community. So here I can say, read my colleague Catherine's reflection about joining a learning community, and I can encourage her work with a boost there. I can participate in a discussion with Catherine and my colleagues, and I can do the same for all of the small reflections that my colleagues have shared, while everyone together is building this skill, AI for lesson planning. I can also, after I've joined the community, engage in this same type of activities, set goals, make plans, reflect on my work, add videos, and exchange ideas and feedback with my colleagues. So that's what we make possible with Reflectivity, where we help teachers adapt to challenges and build new skills by engaging in this socialized reflection process. So if you're interested in learning more about how Reflectivity might help you or your organization adapt to challenges like AI or any others that you may be facing, you can come visit us at swivl.com/reflectivity. And if you have a mobile device, you feel free to scan this QR code here, which will take you to the same place. So I want to thank you all for joining us for today's edition of the Swivl Adaptability Initiative webinar series. We are continuing next week. We have 2 events, and you can learn about both of those on Wednesday and Thursday evening at swivl.com. You can register there, get more information. And I'd like to thank Dr. Fecich again for joining us. Thank all of you for joining us, and we will see you next time. All right. Thank you again, Dr. Fecich. Hope you have a great day.